Hello there, Josh here from Racing to Profit. I hope you can hear me. In this video, I'm going to attempt to use my stats and Chester pointers I've pulled together for Chester's May meeting, which starts on Wednesday, and just flick through some of the qualifiers down here using the excellent GG's Gold. Part with an idea of saying a few things maybe of interest about these horses, but also other things you may want to note down about the races as I flick through them. I'll have a look at pace, some draw stuff, which trainers are in form, jockeys are in form, etc. So there may be something you pick up as I ramble on through Chester's card on day one. So do watch it with a notepad if you want. And with any luck, I say something of mild use and interest, which is always the aim. Where should we start? Let's go over. I'll jump over to Gigi's Gold here. Chester, they've had a bit of rain, as has most places in the last few days. Currently good to soft. They could still have some showers of the rest of today. I'm recording this Tuesday lunchtime. And they could have some blustery showers and unsettled weather for the rest of the week. So there's clearly going to be some cut in the ground. How bad it gets, time will tell. But I'm on Chester's card here. You can see the going set, good to soft. These are, in the GG's race cards. What do I want to say first? We have a qualifier, Devious Angel. I should say I take off the odds. You can get the odds kind of showing on the race cards, but you can turn on and off different things. And I do like to look through a race first of all and try and form an opinion without knowing what the odds are. So I think that can kind of influence you sometimes, and try and get a rough idea as best as you can before then, say, looking at odds checker or whatever else, or you may of course produce your own tissue prices or whatever, but that's just something as an aside. What do I want to say here? Devious Angel is the Dascombe Kingscote horse in this. Tom Dascombe has won this race a couple of times previously. If I click this report angles here, there's a hot form flag. Trainer jockey Dascombe Kingscote, a 4th from 16, 6 places here in the last year. You can see the stats there. No shock there as such, I suppose. And we can see the trainer stats overall. Obviously, you'd have lost plenty backing all of Dascombe's Chester runners, certainly to starting price there. If we look at Kingscote, who does ride this place well, the green kind of C1 and C5s, you can see his overall stats, which won't obviously all be just for Tom Dascombe. Again, you could have backed them all in the last year to quite decent success, but as you can see, the last 5 years longer term, certainly to starting price, not too bad. But if you're able to avail of kind of early morning odds and best odds guaranteed, you may have done quite well to kind of have 57% of rivals beaten, which is percentage of rivals beaten, which is a decent kind of anything over 0.5 suggests he's riding horses that are finishing nearer the front than the back in their races. And, he's been pretty consistent at the track here. And, he clearly rides it well, 40% winning or placing of all his rides here in the last 5 years. So that's something always worth kind of noting. Kingscote's rides around Chester, and as a standalone way in, given those figures, that wouldn't be a bad thing at this track throughout the season. What do I want to say about Devious Angel? This is the Lily Agnes 2-year-old conditions. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lightly raced last time out winners, an unraced horse here, all seemingly in form. So anyone's guess on rain softening ground around a track, which is clearly rather unique, and you're on the turn and you're on the bend quite a bit, and you generally, especially over 5 furlongs, have to have a bit of pace about you. So maybe not necessarily a race to go mad on, given we don't have much to go on, but I do have the Dascombe, or more so the Richard Kingscote angle when he's drawn 2, 3 or 4 here at the last 8 meetings. They are pretty solid enough stats. The horse, if we look at pace, which is always important and interesting around Chester, we can see the excellent Gigi's pace maps here, which really are good, and they combine kind of running style and draw. Obviously, green being good, red not so good. You can see hold up horses there in the period on this going, which you can change into all sorts of things and the number of runners. So this alone is very good. You can see there's three of them who have kind of gone forward and like to get on with it. So whether or not there's a pace burn up, they cut each other's throats, and it sets up for one of these three who are more patiently ridden. That will be of interest. Of course, it may very well depend on what the start is like. What could I say about Devious Angel, given this is the way in? This race has worked out okay. Interesting to a point, maybe, that Dascombe ran Devious Angel, ran her in a at Newmarket, in a Newmarket maiden first race. I wouldn't have any stats to hand whether or not that's something Dascombe does regularly, but Newmarket maidens generally on both courses can be strong, particularly the Rolling Mile at the kind of start of the season and then near the end of the season as well. And you can see here there's two horses that have run, obviously Dascombe's ran next time and won. There was a Haggis horse in behind that won on her next start, and the second for Ed Dunlop was won on her next start. So this may be a fillies maiden, a race to track if you like track in hot form, if you like playing in juvenile races, etc. This maiden is clearly working out okay. We've got Balding's horse here yet to race, the James Tate horse here yet to race. The winner hasn't gone on, hasn't run since. There could be some more winners coming out of this race. That's what these early kind of stats would suggest. So that may be something you wish to note down. There's not much else to say. Obviously, there's an improving Racing Post rating here, which you'd like to see, which I like to see, with horses still open to progress, kind of jumping up through the ratings in that sense. Hacked up at Southwell, eased towards the finish. Given there's a bit of cut in the ground, and this may take some getting, a kind of win on what will be the old Southwell surface. I think they're now in the process of replacing it as I speak, from the old fibre sand. So but that's interesting. Clearly in form. That form's working out well at Newmarket. Will race prominently. A Southwell win there suggests you stay fairly well and may well handle some cut, although you might want to dive into some breeding and other things. Not necessarily a race to go mad on, and I've kind of spent 5-6 minutes on it, but more so maybe to flag up some other bits and pieces. Hopefully I've said something of interest there. You've got the GG speed ratings down here, and they do pretty well over 5 furlong trips, in fairness. The top rated, I think you can back overall 5 furlong races for an okay ROI. But of course, these are lightly raced horses open to any amount of improvement, so they're only some guide. These use Dr. Peter May's speed ratings, and he does some fancy things, I think, with how he pulls them together. But that's enough on a 2-year-old race. I'm going to jump to the Cheshire Oaks. Ryan Moore qualify here. You can see their distance stall again, and the stats there again pretty solid. It'll be interesting to see what odds nicest is. The fact that Donica the fact that Ryan Moore is riding this one, I assume, given the ownership obviously in the Coolmore link, he would have had the choice of the two. You'd have thought that within the 1,000 guineas or so, although sometimes in these early races it's hard to know if Ryan's on for today or to get a feel for the future. Certainly in his Betfair column before the 1,000 guineas, he was very lukewarm on his chance, and if you read between the lines, I thought was pretty much saying everything he could without being blatant, by suggesting he expected Frankie's horse on this particular day to be ahead of him in that race, and that his may be one for the future. So whether or not that's the case with Nicest, obviously had 2 runs. Sometimes with Coolmore, and when they send raiders on, certainly to Chester, but maybe some other kind of non-Group 1 races, early season, is whether the team are trying to get a feel for what they've got at home and trying to use benchmark horses. Sometimes I wonder, for all that, of course, they would love black type for these nicely bred fillies, and would, obviously like them to be winning decent races, so they can breed from longer term. She won first time up in a race which has produced subsequent winners. Maybe bogged down heavy in a Group 3 here. The ground shouldn't be that bad, you wouldn't think. Interesting they run at Chester, and like I said, interesting that Ryan Moore is on. You can flick through some of the other form. What else could we highlight? The fact that Roger Varian's in okay form, 8 from 33, 16 places, 64% rivals beat, and that's in line with his 365-day average, so they're going okay. Chester hasn't been a prolific hunting ground as such, but he clearly has winners here. Does okay with last time out winners. His is a yard which you need to be picky. You'd be pretty poor if you back them all, certainly to starting prices you can see there. But this one is 3 from 3, hasn't done much wrong, but you can flick through different other things. Team Gosden are going along okay as well, as you can see from the stats there. The data in this is for John and Thady Gosden and doesn't include John's historical stats. But yeah, you can see they've started since the joint license pretty well. Who else have we got? Mark Johnston. I'm saying things here you may want to note down for this meeting, for other meetings this week, especially when looking at trainer form. The Johnston team have started very well, especially against their yearly win percentage average and place, and indeed rivals beaten. The new teaming up with Ben Curtis seems to have started well, and Johnston's got decent jockeys on his books now who can ride plenty of different types of tracks very well. So, these are, again, lightly raced 3-year-olds. A few of them here having their first start of the season. It is odd, I think, that Moore's not on the O'Brien horse, Aidan O'Brien horse. I don't know whether that's because of that's what they like today most, or for the future in mind. And he's never ridden, or not in certain, the last 5 starts, he's only had 5 career starts as of this filly, hasn't ridden this one once, which is interesting. So there may be nothing in that, I don't really know. So, you can do with those things as you please. I could touch on pace that you might find interesting. Some small kind of sample sizes here, obviously. But you can see where the Pacemap setup may be. You can organise and sort it by draw. Obviously, one will be against the inside rail. So you can see the kind of pace setup there. Ryan actually may just get to sit behind 2 or 3 who like to get on with it, and may well be in the perfect spot. It'll be interesting to see how that race pans out. I could touch on Hugo Palmer, who is in fine form. I'm not sure if he was in the doldrums a bit at times last season, but he can't have done much better in the last kind of 14 days and 30 days. They're ticking along okay, and actually a near 20% win strike rate over a year, and 44% win and place isn't too bad at all. So Hugo Palmer may be a trainer to keep an eye on in the coming days and this season. And you can see the trainer jockey combo there when James Doyle is on isn't too bad either, although plenty of them are well backed and well punted. Where do I want to move on to next? I've got nothing in the 245. It's a handicap I'm going to. What am I going to do? Let me just click on Instant Expert. You can see who's kind of proven in conditions. Let's assume the ground might go soft. So this is winning form on good to soft through to soft, which you can see there. The class, the course. Again, this is a 3-year-old only handicap. There are many lightly raced. They're still open to improvement. It's 5 furlongs. I can click on handicap. You can see plenty of these haven't run in a handicap before, but you can look at that and do what you want with that. There's handicap marks here, but obviously, like I said, they're all still open to improvement. The 4 that have run in handicaps are above their last winning marks, but that may not mean much, like I said, because they can take big leaps forward at this age. I could touch on the Pacemap again if you want. Army of India, Mark Johnston, Franny Norton, drawn in 6, so he's down here a bit. This may depend on the start. Can Franny fly the gates? Can he get out, and can he get across to the rail? I've seen Murphy might be tempted and really want to hold that rail, so he may bounce out. Dascombe's like to go forward, of course, so this is a fascinating 5 furlong sprint from a kind of pace and tactics angle, and who gets whether or not it might pay just to sit off the pace a bit. It could all depend on the start, of course, but it looks like Franny will try and go forward. Jane Elliott will go forward. Oshin will be keen to get out and hold the rail and probably not get stuck behind horses that are coming across or too far behind, to give him options when they swing off the bend. So that may be something of interest. Who should I touch on? Andrew Balding's in form, as we can see there, and again he's doing better than his kind of yearly average in terms of win percentage anyway. He does okay at Chester. You do have to kind of pick and choose them as well, but most of his runners here generally are interesting, and there's some stats there of interest for now and the future when an Andrew Balding horse returns within 7 days or under. In the last couple of years, these stats refer to 8 from 25, 9 places. You'd have won nearly 25 points at starting price. So that's a micro angle that may be of interest, and of course maybe interest for this horse here, but I will leave you to dive into that and have a further look if you so wish. The Chester Vase, what we have here is an Aidan O'Brien benefit race, is it? I had a quick look. He's won, I think, since 97 or so, 9 from 24 runners, 16 have placed, including 9 winners. Ryan Moore's record in this race is 7 winners from 11 rides. 9 have placed. That includes the 7 winners. So from his 11 rides, he's only finished unplaced twice. And having said that, this has changed since it looks like the O'Brien horses, or these two, are now non-runners, which is interesting. So Ryan Moore was on Salamarak, but that non-runner information has just fed in, I think, if that is correct. That's thrown me a bit as I've switched onto this, which means it does probably leave one O'Brien horse, but I'm not going to focus on this any longer in that sense. I will give you a pace map so you can kind of have a look and do what you want. William Buick may well get to dictate and do his own thing up front here. Given the historic running styles of all the horses in this race, it does look like William Buick will be able to get out and do his own thing, especially as the horse that may have chased him home is now a non-runner. He's fit, he's in form. The ground is a question. He returned at Epsom and did fairly well. He's going to be prominent, so that's interesting. So that's some information you may want to use there. Of course, again, 3-year-old colts and geldings, lightly raced, unexposed, most of them in decent form. Most of them open to progress, big yards, well bred, etc. But that's that. I'm going to skip on past that. We're on to the 3:45, and I don't have anything in here. What I was going to say, actually, Kevin Ryan's in form, as you can see there. I'll let you focus on some of those stats and do whatever you want with them. Kevin Stott is riding well. He's certainly riding with confidence at the moment, and he has a decent record at Chester generally. So that, especially that place record, blimey, look at that. So, that's interesting. That's something to note. Kevin Stott rides Chester very well. Brian Meehan's in form as I tick round to 18 minutes. You can see the form of the Meehan yard there, and some of these going at nice prices. So Brian Meehan, whether or not for this particular horse, might be worth a look. That is some solid form in the last 30 days and 14 days. And he doesn't run many at Chester, but a couple of winners in the last 8 years. Booked William Buick. I don't know if that's significant. There you go. Trainer jockey combo 1 year, 4 from 17, 6 places. So maybe plenty of information at the tip of my fingertips here. So, there's various other different trainers you can see there in form. I will touch on the Instant Expert, good to soft through to soft. That's all codes. You can have a look at that, pause it, do what you want. And I will flick onto the pace map, which is interesting. So we've got pause for thought, may try and lead. You've got the Griffiths horse, but first run of the season, second. Uncle Jumbo can race prominent. Meehan's mid-division, you can see the kind of where it pays to be generally and good to soft, 11 to 14 runners. I mean, this only a sample size of 9, but you can see that 8 came from leading or racing prominently, and including the win and place percentage as well. So you kind of generally need to be in this area here. This is by pace map. Let me do it by draw. So we've got 1 is against the rail. So obviously favoured lower here, hence what the green box is. So Kevin Stott may be able to get Uncle Jumbo out. Mullin may be aggressive on his. That one may be worth a look, depending if he's fit and you work out whether it has the form. Down here is not too bad though. If you can kind of get out and prominent, it's not the end of the world. You can kind of slot in. But Kingscote might get a flyer and be able to dictate. So maybe pause for thought is worth some pausing for thought and to take a closer look at him if you want, because interesting from a pace angle. I would say, just because I focused and zoomed in on those Ryan and Kevin Stott stats, that given where he's drawn and where he may be worth another look, and those Meehan stats would suggest that his, certainly given the form he's in, may be worth a look also. But I may not have even mentioned the winner there, but that's just something for you to ponder. I'm going to flick through, let me just click on the speed ratings here again. You can see them. I've ordered them top to lowest. You can do what you want with those. And let me jump to the 4:15. Do we have anything in this? Yes, keeper. Jockey Ryan Moore. What did I want to say here? Second run, didn't do anything on the first start. Always interesting, I think, when this ownership books Ryan Moore, who is riding in form and does ride the track pretty well, as you can see there. 10 from 32, 18 places, all rides here. In the last 13 years, you obviously do have to pick and choose them and certainly can't back them to SP. Plenty of them are short enough, obviously. I did just want to touch on Charlton in the sense that with his, in the last 90 days, horses having returning, because I did notice this with I've got a flat angle for his, and there's been a couple of qualifiers in the last 2 weeks making their seasonal return on turf, and plenty of them have been running and looking as if they would come on for the run. So he's had 20 on the turf making their seasonal return or having had 60 days or more off. None have yet to win 4 of play, so that's something to keep an eye on. It could be, like a lot of trainers, he may not, because it's been so dry and rock hard, have got too many of his horses onto the grass, and that's affected some maybe needing a run or two, whereas they may have not needed them in previous seasons. So that's something to keep an eye on. Roger Charlton's a fantastic trainer and it will click into gear at some point, but so far his flat turf horses have seemingly been needing the run. How long that stays like that for, we shall see. But there's nothing really on this I want to touch on. What could I flag for you? Richard Hannon generally does well. It's a decent win strike rate. Percentage drive beaten at Chester again. You do need to pick and choose his runners, but it is a track he does like to target to some extent and seems to know the type to run here. This is a maiden stakes. Obviously, tactics and all sorts of things can change pretty quick. Nothing is led as such as yet, but it'll be interesting. Most of these, or nearly all of them bar one, have had a run and had some experience. Obviously, SDS likes to go forward if he can, but one of these 5 I suspect is going to go forward, and one of them may well dictate who's got the draw. You've got 2 who are wide here, so that's going to be interesting. So you've got the Simon Crisford Doyle horse and Balding Sylvestra. They're the 2 drawn closest to the rail who may go forwards. Again, Dascombe Elliott have one drawn a bit further out who can go. I don't know if Richard Kingscote's had the choice there. You'd assume of the 2, but you never know. So maybe something of interest there as well. And finally, so I tick around to 25 minutes, but I hopefully said something of fleeting interest. Who was a qualifier in this National League for Paul Hannigan? As you can see here, stats in class 3 and 4 races pretty good. Some of that's linked to Fahy, and some of it, I think, and some Fahy's class 2 record, mainly because he probably throws a lot of darts at the Chester Cup and other type races. Over a year at Chester's not too bad, and at this meeting in class 2s hasn't been fantastic, but this is a class 4. The horse looks like he likes cut and handles the ground, so probably no problems there. Drops from a class 2 into a class 4, so doing something different there. Posted some decent racing post ratings, certainly against a mark of 84. So he's dropping in class by 2, he's dropping in trip. The rain has come, and if you look through his record, he does like a bit of cut. I've only had a brief look. You might want to look and see how some of his races have worked out. But he could run an okay race, I think, having had a very quick glance, but it is a 14 runner handicap. What could I mention? Good to soft through to soft. We can see the winning form on this instant expert here. You can look at the placed form. There's lots of green, lots of orange. That suggests this is a very, very competitive race and probably one to put the kettle on and maybe leave alone, but maybe not. You can see the handicap marks here against their last winning marks. You might find of interest. Obviously, you can pause this and do what you want. And finally, there's the Pacemap here, which is interesting. National League can go forward. Praxology can go forward, who's a last time out winner and bolted up when last seen. He's fairly interesting here, I think, because he likes cut as well. And then the Dascombe Kingscote horse can go forward also. If I sort it by draw, you can see some of these are drawn wide. Some of these drawn near the rail are usually ridden patiently. Will they change tactics because they're drawn near the rail? That's always something of interest to consider around Chester. But Praxology and Nation League should be able to get out, and there's nothing on their inside here historically, not on the last 4 runs anyway, which bombs forward. So these two, I wonder if they'll be able to fly the gates and get out, and they'll be kind of side by side, and they'll hit the bend in kind of first and second. Maybe in both of them we'll kind of stack them up and dictate from there. Possibly. So from a kind of pace angle, those two may be interesting. National League may be worth a closer look. But yeah, with that said, I will leave it there. I suppose I could finish with the speed ratings here that you can look at. I don't want to have said anything which puts you off a selection. That is never my aim, so don't listen to anything I've said to put you off a selection. I've more so tried to flick through a few things that may help you as a way in or let you think about the racing today or racing at other cards through the week on various different things I've quickly touched on about trainer form or jockeys or whatever else. So with that said, yes, hopefully I've said something intriguing, useful, whether for this card or for the rest of the week or maybe the rest of the season, who knows. With any luck, I may have mentioned a winner or two, but that was a very quick flick through, and some of those horses and some of those races need a much closer inspection if you like that kind of thing. But with that said, I will say thanks for watching. Until the next time, this is Josh saying best of luck with any bets as always, and speak soon. Bye for now.